Welcome everyone, Farmer Cop here. This is going to be a guide to two production mods. They both produce, well, kind of the same thing, but we'll talk about that as we get going. This is going to be a guide on how to use them, and at the very end we're going to talk about if they're actually profitable or not. So we'll cover all of that. The first mod is the Corn Crib, which again is for all platforms. It's by MA7 Studio, 5.54 megabytes to download. The second one is called the Small Corn Dryer. It is by JMZ. It is 4.42 megabytes to download for all platforms. So, those are the two different mods we're going to cover. They both essentially are designed to dry corn, but they each have, they each have a different output, technically speaking. So, the Corn Crib, if we go into, not here actually, let's go into the menu here. The Corn Crib is going to produce dry corn, and the Small Corn Dryer produces dried corn. Yes, they're two different fill types. I installed both at the same time to see if they would be. This one is worth a little bit more at its height than this one, but we're going to cover all that. So that's kind of what we're using to base some of the stuff off of. But yeah, so how do we use these? Well, if we go into build mode, if we go up to here, if we go over to silos, this is actually where the Corn Crib is located. It is a production building though, but it is located under silos, so just be aware about that. If we hit F to customize, you can do a different, I think, different color roof on it if you wanted to do that, so it doesn't matter if you can customize that if you want. $3,500 to place, not bad. Daily upkeep's $2 just for the building, not a big deal, pretty easy peasy there. So I'm just going to place that one right there, okay? Now the other one, which is the Small Corn Dryer, that one, we look at the daily upkeep. Daily maintenance is $20 a day, so it's 10 times more a day to upkeep in terms of that, but there's some reasons for that, and we'll get into that. And that one's found actually under factories. Go all the way to the bottom or wherever your modded productions are, and then you'll find it down here. And if we hit F to customize, we can change the color to that. If I wanted like a, I don't know, a bluish corn dryer, I could make a bluish one if I wanted to. It doesn't matter, but you can adjust it if you'd like to. So I'm just going to place that one just like right here. Perfect. Okay. So the Corn Crib, you have your input and your output. Both of them are not, they're just not going to spawn pallets. It's just bulk materials, which is way easier anyways. If I come up here and I hit R, it's going to get me into the production menu for this one. You can see the Corn Crib, 100 corn to 80 dry corn. It does that 72 times per month. That's what cycles per month means. The nice thing about this one is it doesn't cost anything per month to run this. It does cost $2 a day to upkeep, but no cost here. The capacity is 40,000 liters and 40,000 liters, so that's kind of nice actually. So decent capacities, no upkeep, and it works pretty fast. 7,200 liters of corn a month is not bad, and at $3,500 at one of these cribs, you could put several down. The Small Corn Dryer, however, has some different things going on. The one thing I hate about this one is it has such low capacities, 15,000 liters and 13,000 liters for the output. The reason that matters is this thing does 15,000 corn to 12,900 dried corn, and it does that 12 times per month. So every month you have to put, if you want to keep this thing running at full efficiency, 15,000 times 12 is 180,000. And yet you would have to refill it if I divided that by 15,000. Again, you'd have to refill this thing 12 times to keep it completely running and empty it out even more times. So just be aware of that. The other big thing about this one too is that it takes $5,640 to run every month. So this is quite expensive to have this turned on. Now either one of these, it doesn't matter. You can go here and you can do storing, selling, or distributing. If it's on storing, it's just going to keep it inside of the facility. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to spawn pallets. If you change it to selling, it's going to automatically sell it off. You are going to take a little bit of a penalty for that, so just be aware of that. I did do a video on the penalties and stuff like that if you want to check that out. For distributing, it's going to move it to a different production. If you have a different production that accepts it, there's not really one that I know of right now. So I'm just going to leave it on storing. Down here, I can activate it or I can deactivate it, depending on what I want to do. I'm going to leave them deactivated for now. But yeah, you can see those are the differences for those. If we go over to this guy here, since I didn't show you, the out point right here is this pipe out, which makes sense, and the in point is right here. And then this is where you can access the production menu right there. Now I have a cheaty vehicle here, courtesy of Yoast Modding, that sent this over to me to use. It holds 1,000,000 liters of whatever I want in it, so I'm just going to come up next to this. To use this, you just pull up right here and get it right, and then I can hit I to unload. And it fills it up pretty quick. Now, it won't fill up quite that quick. It filled up quick for me because this thing unloads really fast, but it is a cool animation to see the corn out drying like that. If you've never seen a corn drying or a corn crib like that, they're pretty cool, actually, in real life. That is a way that farmers will dry corn. Oop. There's a weird collision right there, so just be careful of that. But again, I just pull up to it, and I can unload into it, and there, boom, it's full because it took everything really quickly. So pretty straightforward in terms of that. I'm going to empty this guy out because we're going to use it to get the stuff out in a second. But now if I want to actually get these guys running, pretty straightforward. I just have to go back into the production menu for each one. It doesn't matter how you get to the production menu, just get into it. And then I'm going to go ahead and activate that. So that is running, and I'm going to activate this one. Oop, click on it, then activate. There we go. Now you'll see, if I speed up time, this one's going to be done very quickly. You can see how fast that's going through the corn. It's going to be pretty much done very quickly. This one is a lot slower. 309 liters here of the dry corn. It's a lot slower of a process. Again, 7,200 liters is all it can get through a month. So it's going to make, and then you're losing some of it off the back, and you see 100 to 80. Just like this one's also losing some off the back in here. But we'll still talk about that in terms of profitability. So, yeah, and we're on normal economy mode, by the way. I want to mention that as well. So, yeah, they run, they do their thing, no big deal. When it's time to get stuff out, we can get in here. For this one, we're just going to pull right under here. Hit, well, maybe I'm not quite under it. Let's get a little bit closer. Might have to get pretty close to it. There we go. And you can take the corn back out, which is nice. But there we go. I have the dry corn. You can't even really see it in there because it's not very much. And I'm going to empty that back out. Now, if we come up to this one, we're going to get it out on this side. And you can get the dried corn, and there's no regular corn in there, but you can get the dried corn out if you'd like to there. So, there we go. We're unload the dried corn. Beautiful. Now we have it. Now you just got to take it to a sell point, sell it like anything else. Now let's talk about the profitability of these guys. I know that's a big thing some of you guys are going to be curious about. So we'll go over to my profitability sheet here. This has every single, this is linked down below in the description. This has every single base game production up at the top, all sorts of details on them, and then it has started modded ones down here. Now this one, the only thing I did change is I added a monthly cost for the monthly production cost. I added that on the right-hand side here, so most of these don't have that, even some of the modded videos I did. But going forward, I'm going to include that into what's going on. So you have the corn crib. Now the other thing to consider too, the small corn dryer is $21,000 to buy. The corn crib's $3,500 a piece. So it's more money to get into doing the corn drying. However, if you have a lot of corn, it's going to go way faster. The corn crib, you could put a couple down if you had a lot of corn. So it just kind of depends. I do think the corn crib is cooler. I'm just going to say that. It's a cooler looking thing. It may not be the most efficient thing, but it's cooler. And obviously the corn crib produces dry corn, and the corn dryer produces dried corn, which is different apparently. Corn is the input, 72 cycles here, 12 cycles here. This is the input per cycle, which is insane. And then over here we have the input cost. So that's if you were to take that corn and sell it instead of put it into here. That's how much you'd get for 15,000 liters of corn in normal economy. That's how much you get for 100 liters of corn. Output is 80 and then 12,900. This is what you get for selling that corn off, for selling that dried corn or dry corn. This is what you get for selling that amount off per cycle. The profit per cycle has a couple other things kind of included here. This obviously on face value is this minus this because that's the profit. And this one actually is that because the monthly cost is 0. This one is this minus this, but also considering that this has to be included. So it takes this value and divides it by the cycles, so 12. So the total cost per cycle is 5640 divided by 12, which if I did the math really quick, 5640 divided by 12 is 470. So for every cycle that this one runs, it costs $470 worth of that upkeep every month. So that's kind of why it's included in here. That way you can kind of see that. So the profit, though, is still good with that, which is great. And then if we look over here, profit per month, $106,000 compared to $3,000. Now, on face value, it looks like this one is superior, but you also have to consider that this one, in order to keep this one running, the corn dryer mod, you have to put 180,000 liters in a month versus 7,200 liters a month. So that's something to consider there. If you had, 10 of these running, it might be getting closer to, this or whatever the case may be. Now, I did do a comparison here. If you take the fact that 100 liters goes in here to make $42 of profit, how much does 100 liters here of corn go to make in terms of profit over here? Well, it's actually $59 per 100 liters of corn. So your profit is still quite a bit more with this one, even though it seems like it's a little bit scarier of a mod. So just make sure it's not turned on when you're not using it, so that way you're not getting billed this amount over here. Honestly, you can just put your corn in it and run it really quick through, and that would be fine. Probably turn it off so it's not running overnight, definitely, because it'll empty out overnight. But yeah, you're making more per 100 liters. I'm going to delete this because I have to put more mods and stuff down here as I do more videos, but that's just something that I want you guys to be aware of, that per 100 liters of corn, you're making about 60 bucks from this one, and you're making about 42 bucks from this one. So just something to consider there. That's kind of how these corn dryers are working. But anyhow, I'll put both of the links down below for these guys in the description so you guys can check them both out for yourself. Again, I think this one's way cooler, and you still make pretty good money off of it. Don't get me wrong. It's not like that one is so much better that this one's stupid, or you lose money on this one. This one's way easier, and this one's just kind of a lot less hassle. And what I mean by that is if you leave this one on, it's no big deal. It's $2 a day to have it on your farm. If you leave it on, it doesn't cost you anything. It just does its thing, you know? It's pretty chill. So that's what I like about this one. But anyhow, that's what I got for you guys. If you guys enjoyed, please drop a like down below. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button up on the screen to join the Farmer Cop channel and turn your notification bell so you don't miss any future videos I may post. This has been Farmer Cop. Thank you guys for coming and watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.